Why don't you introduce yourself, Andrea?
Okay, sure. My name's Andrea. I'm a single mother of 5 children, and I realized several years ago that, well, I have to have something to look forward to, and travel makes me so happy. And so I've kind of evolved to the point where I prioritize travel kind of above anything else that I buy. And so I usually go on an international trip every quarter. And people are always like, how do you do that? And it's thanks to Joel and Jacob that I'm able to do that. I want to tell you one thing I'm really excited about. Well, I'm excited to kind of spread this message. I heard somebody not too long ago say, look at your bank account and where you're spending your money, that's where your heart is. And I looked at my bank account and I was like, my heart's not at TJ Maxx. And that was a couple of years ago. And since then, that's really helped me prioritize, because I think, would I rather spend $100 at TJ Maxx, or would I rather pay for a third or a fourth of a trip to Europe? And then it's a no-brainer. Yeah, well, I had old school thinking, where you assume a flight's going to be $1,500, and you assume you're going to have to pay $200 to $300 a night for a hotel. And so for me, you know, that's like every 3 years I'm going to be able to do a trip at that rate. And also the length of time, you know, if you're going to spend that much money, you need to stay for a reasonable amount of time. But like this week, I call it a long weekend, but my daughter and I are going to Dublin for 6 days, which is really pretty short, all things considered. But we only paid, it was like $317 for our tickets round trip. And so you can do stuff like that. And, you know, we'll definitely have at least $317 worth of fun on this trip.
That's great. Well, so, I love this photo. Thanks for giving us this little intro of your family. Very impressive, beautiful shot. Let's look at some Croatia pictures, and you can tell us a little bit about your trip.
Okay, I'd love to. It was so fun. I can't wait to talk about it.
And by the way, so this is the typical postcard picture we see. Tell us about your thoughts and your experience when you kind of saw that yourself in real life.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing and incredible. Croatia was so much more than I could have expected. It's just right across the Caspian Sea from Italy. And so, I don't know, I guess I just thought it would be more like Italy. I mean, they touch up at the very top. But well, I guess they do have some similarities, but really it's like night and day as a tourist. Italy, which I love Italy so much. I love it so much it's embarrassing, really. It's just so colorful, and it just is so delicious, and I love everything about it. Venice is magic. I love that place. And so there's not a lot of places that compete with that. There are a few though, but I don't know, Croatia was at least a third the price. It was so cheap. I can't even believe it. Again, I went there on a trip that was round trip from Salt Lake. I think it was $340. It was less than $350. I think it was $340 round trip from Salt Lake City. And then if you look at the total travel time, I like it to be no more than like 17 or 18 hours. And we had 2 layovers, but it still fit in that time limit. It was just perfect. We had like an hour and a half layover at a couple of spots. And so it still just took kind of 1 day-ish to get there. And anyway, so we got there and we flew into Zagreb, which is beautiful and amazing. And I was already in love with the country there. And it's just beautiful. It's the cleanest European city I've ever been to. European country, I'm going to say. It was just so perfect and clean. And so when we got down to Dubrovnik, we wanted to just see some other places. And I love Eastern Europe. I love it. I could spend so much time there.
There's a train line.
Yeah. Is it okay if I talk about the hunky conductor?
I didn't see a picture of him.
No, I didn't take any pictures of him. But I told my friend, forget the fireman, I'll buy his calendar. He was so cute. Anyway, that was just kind of a little icing on the cake. They had a wonderful farmer's market. I could not believe that farmer's market. And it was so nicely organized. There was a fish market. This is a picture from the Split farmer's market. And I had to get a picture of oranges. I have other ones too, but this one was just kind of more bright and fun. The oranges were insane. They were there it was their time to be in season there. I don't know if they are everywhere because I've never been around oranges like that, fresh oranges. So what I decided to do is transition my kids. Okay, so for Christmas, I decided to transition my kids to experiences instead of things. They're all teenagers and we just don't need stuff, you know? And I really want to teach them to be citizens of the world and to have this desire to travel and to prioritize it and stuff. And so I started, I'll make this as short as I can, but we've always kind of had a big pile of stuff under the tree. When I first got divorced, I just had zero money. I'd wrap everything separately. So each pair of socks I'd wrap separately, everything. So we'd have a nice big pile. And so anyway, I couldn't bear with just not having a big pile. And so what I did is I got the things that I would usually give them. Plus I threw in some ramen packages and stuff. And I did a word scramble. And so last year I took my twins to Budapest and Zurich. And so I typed out those letters and taped them to these packages and then they unwrapped it and then they had to unscramble them. And it was so fun. And so anyway, so what I did is I found really cheap trips and took my kids one-on-one, or in my twins' case, I took both of them at the same time, and took them to a fun foreign place, or as foreign as they could manage. I had a daughter that was really just too busy with school last year. So we went to Chicago to see Hamilton. And again, I just find cheap tickets. So I let kind of the sales dictate where and when I go, rather than me saying, okay, the second week of July, I'm going to go to Italy. Because the chances of getting a good deal like that are slim to none. But if I say, okay, sometime this summer, I want to get to Poland, and then I just kind of watch flights and stuff. And then I also know that if I can just get to the continent, it's easy to get anywhere you want to go. Their train systems are so wonderful. And so probably what I'll end up doing is flying to Amsterdam and taking a train or maybe like an easy jet or something to Poland, because they're like $50 round trip usually for the flights, and then trains are even cheaper. Okay, so let's go back to Monica's question. So you'd like to hear my thoughts on family travel. So for me personally, I take them one at a time, and I'll tell you, it is the best experience. If you can swing that, I highly recommend it. Like if you look at that picture, the kid on the far right, he's 20, and when we were walking around Italy, he would hold my hand. Oh, it was so awesome. I love that so much. And just the one-on-one time there's nothing like it, nothing. So I really recommend that if you can do it. And then in Budapest, we made leather wallets, my kids and I, the twins, when we did that trip. I've done several just historical tours. I've done several tours of like Jewish quarters and old towns. My daughter and I are going to do one making kombucha when we go to Ireland this weekend. I've done some ghost tours that are really fun. I don't like to be scared, but they're not usually scary. They're really usually super interesting legends and history. Too. Why not take 1,000,000 photos? We can, right? Yeah. And our Airbnb owner recommended this place, and oh my gosh, I had some of the best food I've ever had. It was so good. The things they put together there are just so interesting. Like they have these things, and they're like little scones, and they put goat cheese and some other kind of cheese, and you just slice them open and scoop this cheese in and eat it while it's warm. Oh my gosh, it was ridiculously good. So good. And then the schnitzel there is delicious. Anyway, I don't know, just after my time doing the study abroad in Mexico, and then I lived in Japan for a year, I just really like to stay in one place and just kind of live like the locals. Shop where they shop, eat where they eat, cook what they cook. And anyway, so there aren't really that many people that like to travel that way. So I don't usually get to do that, except for when I take my kids. Then we do. Then I get all the say. I had such a great experience in Bruges. I've been doing that everywhere I go. I'll Google free walking tour and then the name of the city. And those are amazing. And of course they're working for tips, but then of course they're amazing tour guides, right? They wouldn't do it if they couldn't feel confident that they would get tips, right? And some of them, I'm sure that they get kickbacks too, like they'll take you to a brewery or whatever, and you'll get a coupon, and more power to them. I learned such great history, you know. Thank you. I'll be glad to give you a tip. I'll be glad to, whatever they need me to do. So that's the first thing I did.
Google free walking tour.
Yeah.
That sounds like something you could do in any major.
Yeah. Even some minor. Yeah. Even some minor. And yeah, it's been amazing. When we were in Budapest, I think I did 3 or 4. I think they're so fun. Like my mom loves gardening. And so sometimes I'll do like free walking tour garden. and wherever I happen to be with her. A lot of times that can, especially if they have live guides, that can end up being one of the highlights of the tour. Like my kids, that was their favorite thing in Philadelphia was the ho-ho. The guy was so funny and so interesting. We loved him. I can't tell you. I think I told you this, Joel, but I rate things based on I call it a delight-o-meter. And honestly, I just say how delighted I am with the place. And that little town I told you about, Metz, France, oh my gosh, it was a 10 on my delight-o-meter. And I'd never even heard of it before that trip. It's just this little town, and there is so much cool history and architecture, and it's just so picturesque. You can't even believe it. And like, I don't know anybody that had ever heard of it. And it is the cutest little town. And I'll bet anything that there's some places on Croatia, for example, that are like that.
You've been to 30 plus countries?
Yeah.
Top 3?
Oh no, really? You're gonna make me do that?
Top 5?
Okay, let's do top 5. That's easy.
What 2 or 3 beat it?
What 2 or 3 beat which? Oh, Croatia. Well, I don't know. I'm just still kind of formulating this in my mind, so I'm not sure yet. The top 3 are Istanbul, Prague, and Venice. Those are my top 3. My first top 3. Yeah, I'm going to say that. 4 and 5 are going to be Split and Bruges, Belgium. Okay. Yeah, that's my top 5 right this minute. The top 3 has been pretty steady for a long time. So.
And you're just going to keep trying to knock them off the list.
I just want to keep seeing Europe. Poland and Portugal, baby. That's where I'm headed next.
Nice.
Actually, that's not true.
Ireland is next.
Well, Ireland, and then Greece, and then Moscow.
Wow. Impressive.
Good year, huh? It's so easy to fly around continental Europe. I mean, I wish more people knew that. It is so easy. My son and I took him to Berlin. This is something else I'll often do. I like to kind of plan the first half and then the last night before I leave, and leave the second half kind of open in case, so we did that in Croatia. And we're like, because we're like, what if we just want to go over to Vienna? Or Vienna or Venice. What if we want to go to Venice? Let's just kind of keep it open a little bit. But we left Croatia too much to leave. I
just got a +1 from my wife over here in the heckling section.
Yeah, but my son and I, we got a plane from Berlin to Venice for $20. An episode, is that what we call it? Star Wars was filmed right there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there were stormtroopers right there. Isn't that funny?
Did you get that on your free walking tour?
I did, as a matter of a fact. Yeah, I had no idea. I, of course, heard about Game of Thrones. I haven't seen it, but I'd heard about that. But yeah, I didn't know Star Wars was filmed there too. What? There's somebody at the door again. Hey, guys, come on. Sorry, real life. Me, dogs, kids. Anyway, actually, that's reminding me of another thing that I used to get around. Have you heard of Rome to Rio?
No.
I told you I have all these travel things buzzing around in my head. It's
We're going to do more webinars.
It's Rome2Rio.com.
Andrea, one other question I'm sure everybody has is how are you able to do this? And I will kind of answer that. And that's that you're very good at the job you do, and it's flexible and you can take it with you. Tell anyone who is a small business owner how you could help them and how they could get a hold of you.
So what I do is help businesses get their message in front of more of the people that they want them to be in front of. And then I also do conversion optimization. So I'll help you get more customers and then help you convert more of them. Or I'll help you get more prospects and then help you convert more of them to customers. And I'll talk about that all day long, or I'll talk about travel all day long, whichever you want.
I think that's good. We've got a little over, hour and 15 of content, amazing content on Croatia from someone who just got back.
Oh,
and
so much.
Andrea, thank you so much for sharing. Unless we have any other comments, I think we can wrap it up.
Awesome. I'd love to hear about other people's experiences with Croatia too.